everybody, welcome to the Comic Game Movie Show. My name is Ishan, and today I am here to rank all 9 MCU projects from 2021. And I will start off at number 9, and unfortunately, I'm gonna clarify this, I dug every single one of these projects. There wasn't an MCU project that came out this year that I wasn't a fan of, that I did not like. Like, we're just talking about degrees here. We're talking about degrees, of liked, so to speak. But starting off at number 9 is going to be Eternals. Now, I did enjoy Eternals, but it did have some problems. One of the problems being that I believe it was too long. They tried to do a little bit too much. In the end, they tried to be both an MCU film and an artistic. Something akin to an independent film with a large budget, something akin to like Interstellar, or like some one of those, like a big indie independent film with a large budget, with the high concept, or the high concept. But like they never gave in to either one of them, which means that both sides of what they were trying to do ended up being hurt. They either should have tried to have bits of the high concept and make it mostly an entertaining MCU movie that's about 2 hours with a smaller cast, or they should have went completely high concept and just completely leaned into it and not tried to have the MCU-ness in it. But they couldn't do that because it's an MCU film, and I think that those things ended up hindering it in the end. Those things ended up dividing the audience and the critics, completely in the end, and that's why it's number 9 on this list. Now, number 8 would have to be Black Widow. I think Black Widow is a solid, is the most solid MCU solo movie. It's a damn good MCU movie. It's a solid solo Marvel film. It's one of those films that, like, it's a film that doesn't completely even feel like an MCU film because of how grounded it is. Now, I do wish they had handled the Taskmaster a little bit better, even though I wasn't someone who had a massive issue with how they handled the Taskmaster. I'm not in love with the Taskmaster so much that I was all upset about it. But I do wish they had handled it a tiny bit better. I do wish that they could have kept it a bit more grounded near the tail end. They wanted to kind of go over the top with it and make it sort of a James Bond kind of vibe. I wish they could have gone a little bit more Bond with it, like especially after seeing No Time to Die. I wish it could have been more like that finale and not the one that ended up being. Still, Florence Pugh was great. Rachel Weisz was great. Scarlett Johansson was phenomenal playing for the last time playing Black Widow. Natasha Romanoff, obviously, Alexei, the Red Guardian, was just awesome. He was a fun character. You can't wait to see more of him. In the end, I ended up giving that movie like an 8 out of 10. I thought it was a solid 8. I thought it was a solid MCU entry, and it's one of those ones where I'm like, you know what? This is a good-ass movie. It's not top 5, it's not top 10 MCU, but it's definitely solid entry into like the solo MCU films. And then we started getting into the nitty-gritty. Now, at number 7, I put What If. Now, there are some episodes of What If that are phenomenal. The Doctor Strange one in particular, and a couple others are just fantastic. But overall, it being animated, it not having the same level of to a certain extent, it's the most creative. But at the same time, it being animated and it not being what's the word I'm looking for? It not having such a major immediate impact on the MCU kind of hindered it. Also, the levels of good, it wasn't like it was consistently great. I think every episode was good to great, but, there wasn't like every episode was great. Maybe they needed to make the episodes a bit longer. Maybe they needed to do a little bit more with it. I don't know. But overall, I ended up loving What If. It's a happy concept that I can't wait to see more of next year. The Doctor Strange one in particular was awesome. I like the animation style was astonishing. It was amazing. I had never seen an animation style quite like that before, and that was really dope. So I enjoyed the animation style. They got a hell of a lot. They got so many members of the voice cast of the OG people who played the characters to come back, and overall, I ended up having a wonderful time with What If. I can't wait to see season 2, but that's gonna be number 7. Number 6 was probably have to be The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I adored Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Has my all-time favorite moment in any of the MCU properties on this list. I've already said it before. Seeing Falcon, seeing Sam Wilson Anthony Mackie in that Captain America outfit with the wings and all the whole 9 yards, it almost brought tears to my eyes. It was just so beautiful. The costume, the journey, and not to mention, the show was really touching some real things. Now, some people have argued that they didn't go far enough with the topics they were touching. Like, that's kind of a funny thing, is some people would want you. That's kind of how, like, that's why I say, like, when you get into the social political stuff, it's always, you're always fucked. You're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Because if you don't go far enough, people are going to criticize you because they're going to say you whisked out and you didn't go far enough. But if you go too far, people are going to say you went too far. Now you're pandering. Now you're, oh, I don't want this in my comic book stuff. So, and that was the first one, like, really Falcon and the Winter Soldier, really, I mean, talking about, you know, experimentation on African American soldiers and African Americans, which is something that did happen during that time period. This what was it, Tuskegee? I think it was Tuskegee. I think it was like some whole thing where they were like experimenting with like syphilis on African Americans. So that was a real thing. The whole idea, the whole angle of racism in America and how difficult it would be for Sam Wilson to take on this mantle, knowing that he doesn't quite know how he feels about America and themselves to represent it, and how other African Americans will look at him if he takes on this mantle. All these different aspects, of course, with Bucky and his PTSD, Sam overcoming his thoughts and insecurities. Overall, and by the time I get wrapped up, while it wasn't perfect and it wasn't as good as I was hoping it would be, I ended up giving it like an 8.5 in the end, but I was really hoping it was going to be ridiculous, and it ended up being just really, really, really good with some great moments. And in the end, I still loved it. I still had a great time with it. Falcon and the Winter Soldier is number 6. Number five, like once we get to the top 5, it starts to get a little murky, but I'd probably say number 5. Number 5 has to be, man. Yeah, number 5 is Hawkeye. Hawkeye is number 5. Hawkeye, to me, out of all the MCU shows that they've done this year, it's the most consistent. I know some people have their own opinions about Hawkeye. Some people are like, oh, it's mid, oh, it's not as good, oh, it's not as, the stakes aren't as big. But I love that about the show. I love that they went for a different vibe. And the thing that irritates me about some people who claim to be MCU fans is that I'm like, you guys don't know what the fuck you actually want. No, you say you want something different. No, you don't want something different. You want the same thing. You just want it given to you differently. You want your coke. You got tired of snorting your cocaine, so now you want it to be injected. That's all. You still want cocaine. You just want it injected instead of snorting it. That's what I feel when people say they want something different from the MCU. I'm like, you don't actually want something different. Because when you look at all 5 of the shows they released this year, they are all wildly different, and they all are criticized for their differences. They are all criticized for their differences, even though their finales are criticized for completely different reasons. And it's when I realized, I was like, people really don't want something different. They want what they want, but they don't know what they want. But, you know, Hawkeye to me ended up being such a fun show. It's the most consistent of the shows. I'd say every one of the shows, even some shows I put above this one, every one of them kind of had, I would say the shows I put above this one, which you can kind of guess would be Loki and WandaVision, they had higher highs than Hawkeye. But Hawkeye, like, kind of like went, oh, well, let me lower it down. It went, like, you know what I mean? Like, it was just consistently, it was exactly the tone it was. If you weren't down for it, if you weren't down in the first 2 episodes, if you weren't down in the first 3 episodes, you just weren't down for it. But if you were down, which I think most people were, then you enjoyed the whole thing. You enjoyed the whole thing. It was a nice, grounded, more smaller story. It was great to see more of Hawkeye. Kate Bishop was awesome. The introduction of the Kingpin to the MCU. Echo was cool. The whole thing was just so much fun. I love that last sequence. I know some people complain. I love that last sequence when we got to see all the trick arrows, because we really never get to see Hawkeye use a ton of them. We actually got to see it. So now when he goes into other shit, we can just see all the trick arrows. Loved Hawkeye, and it's why it is my number 5. Number 4, Loki. Loki was so much fun. It was so cool. It's another one of those high concept things too, except it was high concept done great. The whole time variance authority and variant Lokis and timelines, and it was insane. Like, the whole thing was this interesting thing that just every week you were just wondering what's gonna happen. Loki and WandaVision were the most mysterious projects in terms of we just didn't know where it was going. We didn't know where it was going. We hoped we knew where it was going, but we didn't know. And that was always so fun with that show. Obviously, Tom Hiddleston returning to play Loki was such a treat. It's so fun to see him play Loki. He's so devious. He's so witty. And then also, we got freaking Owen Wilson in the MCU, which if you had told someone 3 years ago after Endgame that Owen Wilson would be in the MCU, no one would believe you. Here he is playing Mobius in Mobius, and that's just fun. It's just really fun. We also got the reveal of eventual King the Conqueror, Jonathan Majors playing He Who Remains, in a fun performance at the end. And by the way, I actually think that the Loki's season finale was really good, but so many people hated it because it wasn't enough action, it was just talking. That's when I was like, because people complained in WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier that there was too much CGI and not enough actual stuff happening, not enough explaining, not enough stuff happening, and then they do nothing but explaining and like conversation and stuff moving, and then people complain about that, and I was like, okay, you guys don't know what the fuck you actually want, because they gave you a completely different kind of ending here, and you guys just complain about that too. But either way, I'm excited, can't wait for season 2, whenever that happens. Who knows when that's gonna get started? But yeah, man, Loki was fun. It was a joyride. I had a great time with it. The Easter eggs, I mean, just the Easter eggs in that one area they went to alone. We got the Thanos copter, for crying out loud, in that show. The show was bonkers. Loved it. Coming in at number 3, ShangChi. ShangChi to me is, well, without a doubt, the best new addition to the MCU. I think it's the best new addition. ShangChi and his world, and Simu Liu, who I loved on Kim's Convenience. If you've never seen Kim's Convenience, check out Kim's Convenience. It's just gonna make you love Simu Liu even more. Like, I saw him on that, and then when he got announced as Shang-Chi, I was like, what the fuck's the cat? What's the chances that I just started watching this show and that random Asian Canadian kid got cast as Shang-Chi? But he's so likable, he's so cool. Obviously Awkwafina as his best friend Katie, their bond, their chemistry was so really good. And I mean, Wenwu, aka the Mandarin, just came on the map and became one of the best villains in the MCU, period. The whole story, the action was cool, the action was unique, and I know some people had issues with the final act action. I loved it because the final act action was actually like some anime shit, and it looked bad. To me, it looked awesome because it was like some anime shit. They had to take it a step above. It can't just be normal fights. This is the MCU. Like, eventually he's gonna be fighting fucking aliens and shit. You can't just be a dude, you know what I mean? So they gotta show you the extra level in that, and to me, Shang-Chi was dope. It's the best new addition. Honestly, I like it almost as much as I do Spider-Man No Way Home. I like it maybe even more than Spider-Man No Way Home. Almost. But coming in at number 2, speaking of, is Spider-Man No Way Home. Spider-Man No Way Home was, bar none, probably the best film I saw this year. Had a blast with it. It had so many stuff in it. Now it's been a couple of weeks, I can even say this. I mean, seeing Tobey and Andrew, I didn't even like the Amazing Spider-Man 2 movies. I mean, the 2 Amazing Spider-Man movies all that much. I thought the first one was okay, but I didn't love the second one. But even I was so hyped to see Andrew again, working off of them in particular. I don't know how hyped that would have been if it was just him by himself, but seeing them work together and work amongst each other, it was just so cool. And I mean, the character stuff in this was fantastic. It had some of the best action in any Spider-Man movie ever. I mean, getting to see all of these characters who I've seen over the course of the years come back, I've seen all these characters my entire life. It was like a nostalgia trip. It was like, I'm trying to think. I don't think I can equate it to is like, if you were like a part of a sports team and you had been like, I don't know, a coach for this team for like 12 years or something, and you see Hall of Fame players come back. Like, I don't know how to equate it, but it was just cool seeing these characters that I love now interact with these characters that I liked then. And all that was awesome. I have my problems with the ending, but overall, I still love that film. It's still my favorite film of the year. And, hopefully, I don't know what they're doing. But either way, number 1, if you haven't guessed it, I have been very high on this because I truly do think that this show and that this is going to go down as the most unique and out there and different thing that Marvel has ever done, which is WandaVision. In my personal opinion, WandaVision will go down as the most unique and different thing that the Marvel Cinematic Universe has ever done. The first 2 episodes, first 3 really, honestly, are like, they are not pandering to the comic book fans. They're not pandering to the nerds. They are making an artistic choice to make these shows look like these replicated versions of these 50s shows, these 50s and 60s shows. And you know, ever since I started working at my job that I work with a lot of older people at my job, and quite often in the break room they got like that channel Laugh. I don't know if you guys heard that. You have that where you laugh. That's the channel that has a bunch of old shit on it. And I've seen I Love Lucy on there. I've seen Bewitched. You know, I've seen I Dream of Jeannie. So I know how that looks. And the fact is, they captured that so well. People don't understand how expensive it is to make stuff look like that. It is not cheap to make it look exactly like that. The actors acting exactly like they fit in this, while simultaneously having this creepy Twilight. WandaVision to me, and I know, like, the thing is, people won't appreciate this. They won't, because we're comic book fans. We want bam, boom, bow, pop, pop. We want this huge explosions. We want the comic booky. WandaVision will go down as the most unique thing the MCU has ever created. It will. It just will. Like, honestly, it's the one project that when critics are like, people like a Scorsese or people like you know, people like Coppola and all these huge, more, you know, artistic, you know, independent people, when they start talking shit about Marvel, it's the only project that you can sit down in front of them and go, Marvel is willing to go there. They are willing to go artistic. They are willing to go experimental. There ain't never been anything like WandaVision. I don't know any. Can you name a show that was inside, that like was like, it's like the Twilight Zone meets the Truman Show, like all of these high concept things inside of a TV, so it's black and white, so it's got a bit of Pleasantville to it. It's black and white, and it evolves in color and the themes, and the actors have to act differently in each dude. It's a next level shit to me in terms of production, in terms of acting. It is by far, to me anyways, the best thing the MCU did this year, and it is gonna go down in history. It will. I don't think Marvel's ever gonna top that. Creative and unique, and like just visually, they're never gonna top that. I don't know how you top that. Because it was so weird and it was so out there, and it threw a lot of people off. A lot of people had problems with it. I understand. But no one, I tell you one thing, after WandaVision, no one could ever say all MCU projects are the same. It completely cut that shit in half. It chopped it down. You can never, ever, ever, ever say all MCU projects are the same because of WandaVision. Anyways, thank you guys for joining the Comic Game Movie Show. Please like, subscribe, and I hope you guys have a great new year. I hope you guys go out. I hope you guys are ready for 2022 like I am. I am hyped for it. But comment below. Rank all 9 of the MCU projects in your opinion. Rank all 9 of them. Let me know in the comment section below, and I will see you guys on the next one. Goodbye.